You can leave your phone on a table in Tokyo and walk away for an hour. When you come back, it's still there. Drop your wallet on the train, 74% chance someone turns it in. Tokyo is one of the safest cities on Earth. But here's what's strange. Fewer police than New York, fewer cameras than London, shorter prison sentences than America. So what keeps 37 million people in line? The answer isn't what you think. There are no uniforms, no surveillance system, no enforcement. Just 3 words. Shakai no me, society's eyes. And they're always watching, except they're not watching at all. Let me show you what Japan doesn't have. Police density is 250 officers per 100,000 people, while the United States has 350, which means America has 30% more police per capita trying to enforce order. CCTV cameras per capita puts Japan at 17th globally, which means London has more cameras, Beijing has more, even Seoul has more surveillance infrastructure watching people. Prison sentences in Japan average 2.3 years, while the United States averages 4.7 years, so Japan punishes less harshly, but somehow has lower recidivism. So Japan has fewer police, less surveillance, and lighter punishment, and yet the crime rate is 4 times lower than America's, which means the enforcement mechanisms we think create safety aren't actually there and something else is doing the work. That something is social pressure. Not the kind enforced by police or cameras, but the kind you enforce on yourself. Shakai no me literally means society's eyes, and it's the persistent feeling that someone is always watching, always aware, always remembering what you do. Here's how it works in practice. It's 2 in the morning and you're standing at a red light on an empty street with no cars, no pedestrians, and crossing would save you 30 seconds and risk absolutely nothing. So do you cross? In New York, in Paris, in most cities around the world, most people cross. But in Japan, most people wait because they stand there on the empty street waiting for the light to change, even though crossing costs nothing. Why do they wait? Because maybe someone is watching from a window. Maybe they'll remember your face. Maybe they'll think less of you for breaking a rule, even a meaningless one. The genius of this system is that it works even when nobody is actually watching, because you've internalized the surveillance and now you watch yourself. This is how Japan gets most of lost items returned, not because people are exceptionally honest, but because the thought of being the person who didn't return a lost wallet is unbearable. You don't litter because littering marks you as someone who doesn't care about shared spaces. You don't make noise late at night because noise is meiwaku, which means being a burden to others. And in Japan, being meiwaku is the worst thing you can be. This invisible pressure makes cities across Japan incredibly orderly, which is why trains run on time from Sapporo to Fukuoka, why streets stay clean, why you can leave your phone on a table in a coffee shop and find it still there. But the weight doesn't distribute evenly because some people carry it lightly while others feel every pound of it until the pressure becomes something they can't escape. There's a word in Japanese that most languages don't have, karoshi, which means death from overwork. Not death during work or from an accident, but death caused by work itself. By working so many hours with so little rest that the body simply fails through heart attack, stroke, or organ failure. The Japanese government officially recognized 191 cases in 2021, but researchers believe the real number is thousands because many families don't report it. Why don't people just leave work on time? Because leaving at 5 when everyone else is staying late makes you visible in the worst possible way, since it marks you as someone who values personal time over the team. There's even a term for this called teiji taisha, which means leaving work at your scheduled quitting time, and it sounds neutral but carries an accusation. So you stay, and everyone stays, and here's the mathematics. If every employee works 10 extra hours per week unpaid, That's 520 hours per year per person. And when you multiply that across 1,000 employees, you have 520,000 hours of free labor annually. That's equivalent to hiring 250 full-time workers you never pay. Nobody forces this because the pressure is entirely social, which means you stay because everyone else is staying and everyone else is staying because you're staying. This is the weight in its most concentrated form, a system that extracts labor not through coercion, but through the fear of standing out. And now this system is being tested. A couple days ago on February 8th, Japan held a general election where the LDP, the party that's governed Japan for most of the last 70 years, won a supermajority. 316 seats out of 465, which is 68% of parliament in a record. But here's what's interesting. The LDP had just lost 2 elections in a row because in 2024, they lost their majority, and in 2025, they lost their upper house majority, and both times voters punished them for a corruption scandal. But 3 months later, they won a historic landslide. So why? Because the new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, who is Japan's first female PM, promised to restore order with a campaign slogan that was the whole country pulling together. Not freedom, not change, but togetherness. And it worked because when the system feels unstable, when the pressure drops, Japanese voters restore it, which means the election wasn't really about policy, but about the system itself. Voters said, we want the pressure back. We want the order. We want society's eyes watching again. So let's review what this system creates. Crime rate is 565 per 100,000, which is 4 times lower than America's 2,000 plus. Lost items returned at 74%, while in most countries, it's under 20%. Deaths from overwork at 191, officially though, thousands estimated. Free labor extracted at 520 hours per worker per year. This is the trade-off. You give up the freedom to be loud, to be late, to visibly fail, and in exchange you get safety, order, predictability. The system works because the surveillance is internal, which means you watch yourself, you imagine the judgment, you adjust your behavior. Japan doesn't have low crime because of what police do, but because of what you fear someone might see. And the genius is that someone doesn't even need to exist because the possibility of being seen is enough, and the weight of potential shame does all the work. 3 days ago, Japanese voters chose to restore this system because they chose the pressure over the chaos, the weight over the freedom. And for many people, the bargain works because they carry the weight without feeling crushed, and they find meaning in being part of something larger. But for others, the weight never feels natural because they feel every pound of it, every hour. Shakai no me, society's eyes, always watching, except they're not really watching at all because you are. Japan has low crime not because of cameras or police, but because millions of people carry an invisible weight every single day. The trains run on time because people show up on time. People show up on time because being late causes burden, and the fear of being a burden keeps 37 million people synchronized. That's the system. Clean streets, safe cities, orderly crowds, all of it flows from pressure you can't see but always feel.